Welcome everyone to NIRSA Regional Flag Football Student Officials webinar. My name is Jason Gant and I will be joined today by Daniel Dobroshelski and DJ Doss. So a little bit about us.
Hi everyone, my name is Dan Dobroshelski. I am currently going into my second year as the intramural sports grad assistant at the University of Central Florida. I got my start in flag football about 5 years ago.
I'm DJ Doss. I'm the senior coordinator of intramural sports at Kennesaw State University, just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I got my start in flag football about 9 years ago now.
And I am Jason Gant. I am the Director of Campus Recreation at Farmingdale State College. I also serve as the officials manual editor for the NIRSA Flag Football Editorial Board. And I got my start in flag football about 13 years ago, a lot longer than I expected. Anyway, you can see our contact information listed on this slide, so if you have any questions or emails, please feel free to contact us. As we get through this agenda, we will try to keep it as brief with as much content for you as possible. We will discuss some basic kind of general NIRSA outlines and expectations. Then we will get into some rule changes and mechanics points of emphasis. So to start, here are the regional locations and dates. As you all should know, we have 12 regionals this year, and the culmination will be the national championships at the University of West Florida the first weekend of January. With NIRSA, for those who don't know, there are tons of involvement opportunities. On this slide, everyone in NIRSA is a part of a region. There are 6 regions, and each region has a professional representative and they have a student rep. So you can kind of see those contact informations on this page here, and if you're ever interested in more opportunities within NIRSA, not just at extramurals but some more professional development, we encourage you to please contact your regional student leader or your regional rep, and they would be able to kind of give you information on how you can become more involved and potentially make this a career. For the tournaments, just some basics. Teams are coming in from all over, and you're going to have a variety of schools and a variety of officials. So get ready to meet some new people. Everyone at the tournament, everyone's there to get better at officiating. So don't be afraid to approach someone, introduce yourself, make a new friend, and ask some questions, because everyone there is for, to have each other's back and to help each other get better. Typically, there will be a Friday officials meeting, so make sure you read your emails from the tournament staff well in advance of the tournament. It will have critical information as far as what you need to bring, what time you need to be there, and things like that. When you get to the tournament, dress professionally. You are representing your school and your institution. So typically a collared shirt, some khakis or slacks, is what you would wear to the meeting. And with a typical agenda, a lot of times they will focus on the tournament rules, maybe some mechanical things, and depending on which tournament you're at, these meetings will last anywhere from 90 minutes to perhaps 3 hours or so. Payment is different at each tournament. Typically it's around $10 per game, or the tournament might give you an actual stipend for the entire event. For the hotel, most times you will be rooming with students from either your school or from other schools. Keep in mind, you are representing your institution and the host institution. So the hotel room, you must, be professional and treat your property and other people's property with respect. A lot of times when officials run into some issues, it's typically for issues that are off the field and not on the field. So make sure we're respecting the staff, the room, hotel policies, and like I said earlier, respect your roommates and everyone, whether it's your stuff, their stuff, and just learn to get along with each other. Interacting with evaluators, remember, you're there to get better. They're there to help you get better. So make sure we're doing lots of listening, lots of learning, because our evaluators, they have a wealth of experience that they are willing to donate their time to be able to share that experience and knowledge with you. So if you have follow-up questions, maybe wait until halftime or after the game or during some downtime to ask those follow-up questions. You should not leave the tournament having any question you had unasked or unanswered. That said, because a lot of us come from all over the country with different styles and philosophies, there may be times when an evaluator will say something to you that you may not necessarily disagree with, or perhaps you will receive conflicting information from different evaluators. In those scenarios, approach the director of officials and just ask for clarification. Once again, we are all there to help each other get better, so if we can all be on the same page, that would be a nice way to kind of get everyone to be on the same page. Interacting with your officials, remember, be a good crew member, be a good teammate. And if you're a crew chief, you are in that position to be able to kind of help the younger members of your crew advance along the tournament. So remember, we're all here a part of the same team, and we want to keep that in mind as we are there helping each other and having each other's backs. Sportsmanship is important at these events, especially with the teams coming from a variety of different campuses. So focus on dead ball officiating and, interact with the players. If a player makes a good play or has good sportsmanship, go ahead and compliment that person on it. We are here for the players, and we are here to kind of build up a good community. With the attire and the uniform, once again, read your emails, because the director of officials or the tournament director will reach out to you with more information beforehand. But typically, it's going to be black pants, black shoes and socks, a black hat, and the striped shirt with the collar. Make sure you bring your equipment as well, your flags, bean bags, whistles, pucks, and all of those good things. In general, though, our expectations strictly boil down to professionalism and fun. So know your schedule, when you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to be, and be there on time. Work together, as a team to make the tournament a success. But more than anything, have fun. These events are for you, not only to learn, but to develop an experience of a lifetime. So with that said, we are going to move on to kind of our rules and officials manual changes. And first up will be DJ to kind of break down some of our recent rules changes.
Thanks, Jason. So as Jason said, I'm going to talk about some of the rule changes and some points of emphasis in relation to specific flag football rules. For some of you, this might not be a change necessarily. This might be something that you've been enforcing since you started officiating. These rule changes went into effect last year and so have continued on into this year, but we want to make sure we're all on the same page. So the first one we're going to hit on is extension of periods. If a period has one of those scenarios that's outlined in the rule book, such as a penalty, an inadvertent whistle, things of that nature, a period will be extended by an untimed down if it happens during a down in which the time expires. That change is that we used to say you used to have to have a clean play to end a period. That's not necessarily the case anymore. The time actually has to expire during a live ball in which one of those situations happened. If the time expires during a dead ball period, that's a situation where we would not extend the period. For the minimum line players, also a pretty significant change last year. The only player that is on the offense that needs to be on the line of scrimmage is now the snapper, which is right there at that first ball spotter right at the snap. So they don't need to have any certain amount of players lined up on the line of scrimmage or within a yard. And the last one we're going to hit on is dead ball fouls. Another significant change is that if we have multiple 10-yard dead ball fouls that are committed by each team prior to when we would actually administer these penalties, we can cancel out a 10-yard foul with a 10-yard foul on the other team. What remains in order of occurrence is what we will enforce. So this does not relate to any of our 5-yard dead ball foul penalties. Some case plays with the extension of period. The first one is 3rd and goal, 10 seconds remain in the 2nd or the 4th. A1 completes a pass to A7, who is deflagged at the B10. A1 is then roughed on the play. In A, there will be 5 seconds remaining in the period when the clock is stopped, and in B, the time has expired during the play. In A, we're going to have 1st and goal from the B5. The clock's going to start on the ready for play, and if A does not snap the ball prior to the time expiring, then that period will be over. In B, since the time expired during that live ball time, during that live ball period, we will run an untimed down 1st and goal from the B5. Something important here is that preventive officiating and making sure that, we're not necessarily putting the offense in a worse spot by doing this. We want to make sure that we are taking our time but not delaying the game as a crew. With our dead ball fouls, the case play is following a 3rd down play. A is 1 yard short of the goal line. Following the play, A5 taunts B3. B3 pushes A5, and then A10 screams an obscenity at B3. In this situation, A5 and A10 get unsportsmanlike conduct fouls. Those will also be recorded for those players in relation to disqualification purposes. B3 is going to get a dead ball personal foul since there was contact. The yardage penalties for A5 and B3 are going to offset because they're both 10-yard dead ball penalties. The foul was committed by A10. That last unsportsmanlike conduct we will enforce. The down still counts, so we're going to move on to 4th down since it's all happened during the dead ball period, and we'll start at the 11-yard line. Some correct clarifications. The first is that all of the officials that are on a crew need to communicate open and closed status. The referee announces it, and the back judge, we always talk about having primary responsibility, but everybody on the crew needs to be communicating this so that there's clarity with the crew and with the players on the field. If a crew erroneously indicates open or closed as the status for that play, that down has to be replayed. We can't decline the error. We can't move forward. We have to go back and replay that down. Also, with the crew, the line judge needs to remain on the line of scrimmage until that ball crosses. You're going to rule on illegal forward passes as well as illegal male advancement from that position. With illegal forward pass, some changes when it comes to correct. Any male passer who throws to a male receiver and completes the pass on a closed play will be an illegal forward pass. Any female passer who throws to a male receiver behind the line of scrimmage, and then any A male is who advances the ball through the line of scrimmage, whether it's open or closed, will be enforced as an illegal forward pass. All of those situations will be enforced from the spot of the throw. Illegal male advancement is a situation where a male runner is the first person to advance through the line of scrimmage. A male runner can advance through the line of scrimmage if the ball has crossed and been touched by any player beyond the line of scrimmage. Finally, with overtime, this is a situation where you might not see too much on your campus, but something that we need to be prepared for at these tournaments. With overtime, we're going to bring all of our players and coaches to the center of the field. So everybody's going to come out to explain the procedures of how the overtime is going to look so there's no confusion from anybody on the field. You're going to excuse everybody except for the captains after this and conduct a coin toss to start overtime. There will only be one coin toss for the entirety of overtime, and your visiting team captain will be who gets to make this call. Each team will get to start from the B10-yard line unless there's a penalty that changes that. The line to gain will always be the goal, so they could go way back behind the 40 and then get roughed, but we're still going to have first down to the goal. So the goal line will always be where we have to advance to. Each team is going to get an equal number of possessions in overtime. So Team A will get to attempt their first try in overtime, and then we'll switch, and Team B will get possession to have their try in overtime as well. So each team is going to get an equal number of possessions. The points after tries do not have to change. So across campuses that may be different, but with our NIRSA rules, you will always have the option to go for 1, 2, or 3, no matter what the other team did when they scored. No matter which overtime period we're in, you'll always have the option to go for 1, 2, or 3. If B ever secures possession during overtime, the ball is immediately dead, and that series ends. So with B, we're talking about the defense on that play for that series. And so if B ever secures possession, we're gonna blow it dead, and we're gonna end that series. Each team will get one timeout for the entirety of overtime, so our timeouts will not roll over from regulation, and they will only have one for the entirety. So if they burn it in the first overtime and we play 3 overtimes, they don't get to use a timeout in the second or the third overtime periods. And now Daniel will talk to you about our mechanics.
Okay, so similar to the new changes for this year, all changes that were made and emphasis that we will have were made last year. So it's probably already stuff that you've been doing. But first we're going to go over just initial positioning for our 4-person mechanics. So our referee and our field judge are going to be on the same side of the field, and our line judge and the back judge are going to be on the opposite side of the field. The referee will be 7 yards by 7 yards from the deepest player in the backfield. So that might not necessarily be the quarterback, but it could be a running back lined up behind that quarterback. And then you're going to maintain that 7 and 7 throughout the play. For our line judge, you're going to be positioned right at the line of scrimmage, 2 yards off the sideline, and you're going to help with that initial rush and then shift 3 to 5 yards downfield and let the play develop. Our field judge is going to be positioned 10 yards downfield, 2 yards off the sideline, and angled at a 45 degree. The field judge, once the ball is snapped, you're going to start to flow downfield, and your main responsibility is the zone line to gain and the goal line. If it is 3rd or 4th down, field judge, you are always going to be positioned on the zone line to gain. If that zone line to gain is more than 12 yards downfield, then you'll start at your initial 10 yards, and then once the ball is snapped, you'll get to the zone line to gain. Our back judge, you're going to be positioned 17 yards downfield and 15 yards off the sideline. A good reference point for 15 yards off the sideline is a hash mark, if you do have those on your field. But back judges also do not start with any players positioned behind you. So here are those recent mechanics changes. So most of it is maintaining a tempo to the game and to keep the game moving. So referee, there's no need to announce the down and distance if A is lined up at the ball and they are trying to snap it. So don't hold them up by announcing the down and distance and then blowing you ready for play. Just get back into your position, blow you ready for play, and let the play happen. If any team has questions, referee, you should mark the ball ready for play and then answer those questions. If you're not able to answer that question within the 25 seconds of the play clock, teams can ask for timeouts and you can answer it that way. But we don't want to waste time answering questions. We want to keep the game moving along. And then for line judge, we're no longer going to indicate and drop your arm, but we do still want to let receivers and players on the line know if they're lined up in the neutral zone and tell them to back up. So some other points of emphasis for our mechanics is our line judge and field judge communication. So understand that our field judge is there to primarily help on the plays at the zone line to gain and the goal line. And so with that, the field judge is going to have 95% of the calls at the zone line to gain and the goal line. Line judge, you'll help on those plays that are directly in front of you where the field judge might have been screened out, or a play that goes out of bounds close to his own line to gain. Other than that, line judge, you should not be the first one to come in signaling a short or an overcall. And then for the bunch play. So the bunch play, everybody has a job responsibility, and anybody is able to assist with calling these plays. So the first thing that you need to think about in these types of situations is who initiates the contact, because that's the player that we really want to penalize. We don't want to penalize a defensive player for just standing there while the offensive player blows right through them. So think about these three things. The runner cannot initiate contact through an established defender. The offense cannot displace an established defender. And the defense cannot split offensive players who are shoulder to shoulder. And now we're going to talk about some two-minute mechanics. What is really important in two-minute mechanics is that we are communicating as a crew. If at any point any official gives our stop clock signal, then every other official on the field should be mirroring that signal. For signals such as the touchback, touchdown, safety, and incomplete pass, we never have to give the stop clock signal in addition to those. Those signals will automatically stop the clock, and what we can do as a crew is just vocalize the fact that the clock is stopped. For the back judge, make sure that you are announcing the clock, the status of the clock, and how much time is left in the game or the half after every single play.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the bid selection process as it relates to the national tournament. Basically, the number of bids that each tournament gets is determined by the number of teams, which includes all the teams, collegiate, Special Olympics, and Open. So if your tournament has 40 or more teams, then they will get 4 regional bids. If it's 20 to 39, then 3, 19 or less, 2, and then all regionals will have the ability to submit for 1 alternate bid. For those of you who were either previous All-Americans last year or institutional registrations, remember that you must work at least 1 regional tournament as an official or on the official subcommittee in order to receive your bid to the national tournament. Lastly, for all of you who are working a tournament this year, you are eligible to apply for an at-large bid to the national tournament. Every year, we usually have a couple spots that come open for at-large bids. So if you are available for the national tournament and you do not receive an automatic bid, then we certainly encourage you to apply for an at-large, and that application deadline is December 1st. Well, that's about all we have for today. We want to thank you for participating and listening in on this webinar. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email us or contact us. We want you to be as successful as possible, and we are here to help you. So on behalf of my partners, Dan and DJ, my name is Jason, and we want to thank you for listening in to the webinar. Have a good one, and good luck in your tournament.